Okay, in this video, we are looking at solving quadratics by factoring. So remember, to solve, we need all of our quadratic equations set equal to 0. So if they're not already set equal to 0, make sure you do that because we want to set those equal to 0 so that we can actually factor them and solve them. So we're going to factor the side where the binomial is. And let's put the first one. So factor. We know that our A term will go in our first box, our C term, our last box. Okay. And then we can go ahead and break down a little bit further. So we know that this middle term needs to add 4x. And then also these two values here you need to multiply. Okay, so then you need to add the 4, and they need to multiply to equal 1 times negative 5. So that would be negative 5. Okay, so they need to add the 4 and multiply to negative 5. Okay, so let's find my factors of negative 5. Factors of negative 5 are 1 and 5. Okay, so those really are actually my only factors. So 4 and negative 5, I'm going to have negative 1 and 5. So this will need to be negative x and 5x. So now I can place my factors, so x and x. This will need to be negative 1 to make negative x. And this will need to be 5 to make 5x. And both of these also multiply to make negative 5. Okay, so my linear factors are x plus 5 and x minus 1. I'm going to set both of my linear factors equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to come over here to the side so we can look at what that looks like. So x plus 5 equals 0, and now I want to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides, and I have x equals negative 5. So that's one solution. And x minus 1 equals 0, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. I have x equals 1. So I have two solutions. I have x equals negative 5 and 1. Okay, so now I encourage you to pause and go ahead and factor and see if you can solve the other two, and then come back to the video to check. Okay, so looking in my next one now, we have you should have taken out a greatest common factor to start. So once I take out my greatest common factor of 2, I'm left with x squared plus 6x plus 9. And maybe you will notice that this is actually a perfect square trinomial. But if you didn't notice that, that's okay. It's a perfect square trinomial because 9 is a perfect square. My a value is a perfect square, and my middle can be divided up into the same things that multiply to get my c term here. But if you don't notice that, that's okay. We can factor it the same way. So we have x squared, and we know 9 belongs here. Okay, I'm going to erase this here so we can see. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 9 and add to give me 6. Okay, so I want two numbers that multiply to get me 9 and add to get me this middle 6x. Okay, so let's break that apart. So things that multiply to give me 9, I have 1 and 9. I have 3 and 3. And I can stop here because 3 and 3 make 6. So this will be 3x, and this will be 3x. So when I factor, I have x plus 3, and I have x plus 3. So my linear factors are x plus 3 and x plus 3. So to solve, I'm going to set that linear factor equal to 0. So I have x plus 3 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. And now I have x equals negative 3. So this one has one solution, x equals negative 3. Okay, so my last one, I'm going to first look to see, yes, I'm going to first look to see if I have a greatest common factor. Make sure that you have actually tried this first and then come back to the video if you haven't. Okay. So I know 3x squared belongs here. Negative 10 comes from here. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 30. So I'm going to erase this over here. So two numbers that multiply to give me negative 30. And they need to add to give me 13. Okay, so 1 and 30. 2 and 15. 3 and 10. Okay, I'm going to stop there and see if we have any winners. So 1 and 30 can't make 13. So let's move to the next. 2 and 15 can make 13. I could make this negative. And they also multiply to give me negative 30. So I have negative 2x and I have 15x. So now I can start breaking that apart. So I'm going to take the 3 out of the 3 and the 15. So 3x. And this will also be x. This will have to be 5. So it'll multiply to give me 15x. And this will need to be negative 2 to multiply to give me negative 2x. Okay, so I have linear factor of x plus 5, and we'll set that equal to 0. And I have a linear factor of 3x minus 2, which we will set equal to 0. And we will solve for both. So x plus 5 equals 0. I'll subtract 5 from both sides. I get x equals negative 5. So that's one solution. 3x minus 2 equals 0. I'll add 2 to both sides. So 3x equals 2. I'll divide by 3. So x equals 2/3. So I have my two solutions. My first solution is negative 5. My second is 2/3. So x equals negative 5, comma 2/3. Erase that so you can see a little better. Okay, and that is how we factor or solve quadratic equations by factoring.